Hello, everyone. I'm Kathy DeBross. I'm the VP of Marketing for ArtsWave, and thank you for joining us for the Art of Training for a 5K. This is the second of our monthly Arts for Wellness series of events, and just like everything with the pandemic, we've had to reimagine. And if you are an ArtsWave Pass member, you're going to see that every month you're going to get a different one of these. So, like everything in life, you couldn't do it without a lot of people. So, this offers me a moment to thank people. I thank my team. I've got Andre Dubois and Ryan Strand that are helping us in production. Zach Monning, who is helping us on social media. Thank you. Big thanks, shout out to the Game Day Communications team. They're like an extension of our own team. Jackie Rowe, Rich Wahlberg, and Shay was involved in the video. So thank you, Game Day, for all you do for ArtsWave. We've got a wonderful subject matter expert in Iris Simpson Bush, who is the president and CEO of the Flying Pig and a lot of other ventures. So many thanks for Iris and her team for all that they're doing as part of this. A big shout out to the media with one of my very favorites, a huge art supporter, Megan Mitchell, and she is going to MC our event. But it wasn't just enough to have Megan. I mean, we had to have Evan Millward from Channel 9, who's going to showcase one of our running courses. And then, of course, there's Local 12, Bob Herzog. I mean, what would any of that be without Bob? And so Bob is going to come in and talk a little bit more about another of our courses. And then, you know, we are the arts, and so we do try to incorporate artists. And so we have with us some special appearances. Lon Bussell is the associate principal oboist with the Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra, and he's going to be with us. You're going to learn a lot from him. And then Danielle Cozart-Steele, who is the new artistic director at the Young Professionals Choral Collective. She's also a soprano soloist. Like, get this, if this woman isn't busy, and she runs too, and you're going to learn how running is a really key part of her life. So she's going to be involved. Now, what this session, I mean, we at ArtsWave have learned so much. This is about the mix of arts and running. And yes, they go hand in hand. But we're also going to learn, if you haven't run before, how to run a 5K. Or if you're already running, I need to do this, how to increase your endurance. You know, maybe Iris is going to see me in the Flying Pig after all of this, or let's hope so. So that is what we're going to learn about tonight. So a couple things. We are in the middle, ArtsWave is in the middle of the 2021 campaign. And just a reminder, in Cincinnati, this is how we fund our arts. It's not taxes or levies. It is truly all of us coming together every year and deciding what we can give to support our arts. So a big thank you for joining us tonight, because just by joining us tonight, you are supporting the arts. So many thanks for that. It's been a really tough year for all of us. And that's one of the reasons we're doing this series, because we want to keep you healthy and hopeful, which we really do believe that's what the arts do and what they do perhaps even best. But it's been a tough year for our arts industry. Locally, the industry has lost about 100 million. That's not coming back. And so this was also one of the industry's first to close and not fully open because of audience capacity issues. So you are playing a really critical role in this, and we hope to bring the arts back full force and bring all that joy that we so miss. So if you do like this session, the best way to support it is, if you aren't a $75 donor to ArtsWave, please consider that, and you'll have access to a whole year of these monthly sessions. Otherwise, you can kind of pick and choose and $15 a session and support us in that sort of fashion. I also want to mention we have kind of a special partner that just came in today, and I'm just really thrilled with Tri-State Running Company. So they have come in and said, we think this is pretty cool what you're trying to do. And so anyone who is in this session and would like to put together a Facebook fundraiser, do that. It's super easy. Most of it is pretty automated in your Facebook, where you just look up ArtsWave, you drop in the information, and you're practically there. What's cool about this is if you raise $500 for the arts, then you're going to get a $25 gift certificate at Tri-State Running Company. If you raise $1,000 for the arts, you'll have a $50 gift certificate. So imagine, new pair of shoes, help the arts, learn a lot about arts and running. I mean, the evening just is really off to a good start, isn't it? All right, enough from me. You're really here to talk with others. So let me turn it over to Megan Mitchell with WLWT.
All right. Kathy, thank you so much. First of all, it's such an honor to, one, be asked to do this event. The second that I saw the two, like ArtWave and the Flying Pig, I was like, I'm in. Both of the organizations are some of my favorite in Cincinnati. They both do so much that you don't see behind the scenes. I feel like there are these big ArtWaves events, but then there's also, of course, the Flying Pig. But in between that, throughout the year, so many events that are being put on by these two organizations. It's unreal. There's a good chance you've been a part of one of them in some capacity. I absolutely have. And that's why when I was asked to do this, you know, I have been kind of an on and off lifelong runner, right? So like there'll be some times where I'll get into it through physical fitness and wanting to, you know, get that body, right? But for the most part, I think I always come back to it because of the mental health that it gives me, the mental sanity that it gives me. And I think that goes hand in hand with the arts. You know, there are so many things that I've done throughout my life that are incorporated in the arts, theater, painting. I'm now on furniture renovating because of the pandemic. But with that said, it taps into just this calmness inside of you. And so I just cannot wait to introduce you to some of the people that we're going to be talking with today, because their insight is just like second to none. And, you know, when we were doing this practice session, it was really, really interesting to hear from them. So with that said, so wonderful that ArtsWave is offering these Arts for Wellness programs. They can really help us focus on physical and mental health, as I mentioned. Also, if you have not done the Enneagram yet, be sure to do that. That is the online session. It's right up there on ArtsWave Pass website until April 5th. So you could do it to donors, no charge. So really, really interesting way to kind of find more insight about yourself and about how you function in the world. All right, so tonight we're going to be talking about the art of training for a 5K, which, you know, 5Ks, not a marathon, still really difficult, especially if you are a newbie runner or you're just running for fun and you want to try to get a little bit competitive with it. But I think the point of it is that it's a way to kind of have this social experience with people. And that's what races are all about, especially the Flying Pig. I mean, we're known throughout the country of having, you know, one of the, probably the funnest race in the entire nation. And so we're constantly voted #1 in that capacity, not surprising at all. But we're going to share some endurance tips, and we're going to introduce you to some very artful runners and really talk about the interrelationship between the arts and running. So throughout tonight's event, we're going to use materials that can help you run for the first time, or even just grow your endurance if you already run. And with your registration, you also have access to them. They're available at artswave.org/artsrun. All right, so let's talk about the Flying Pig Marathon. They've kind of curated these 4 artful 5K courses in Northern Kentucky, OTR, downtown in Eden Park. You have maps of each of the 4 of them on Map My Run, and we have links to those maps and the app if you don't already have it downloaded as well. We also have videos of each one of these courses. And here's where things get fun, because I never get to toss to people in the field that are from a different station, but now is my chance. But before we go to some of my friends, we are going to look at one of the videos and one of the courses right now. Let's take a look. All right. Beautiful course, Eden Park, one of the most beautiful places in the downtown area of Walnut Hills, Mount Adams. And so we're now going to go to one of my very close friends, Bob Herzog. He's an anchor and reporter for WKRC Channel 12, Local 12, and he tried it out. Let's see what Bob has to say.
Hello, Arts Waves fans. It's Bob Herzog from Local 12. Good morning, Cincinnati. Standing right down here at the bottom of the new art climb out at the Cincinnati Art Museum. Oh my gosh, this thing is just gorgeous. You know, like a lot of you, I like to go out for a good run every once in a while. It helps relieve stress. Not exactly dressed for it right now, except for maybe the shoes. Does anybody wear dress shoes anymore? Anyway, I'm so lucky that really down the hill from Local 12, I've got Eden Park and I've got the Cincinnati Art Museum and this great set of steps. We are so fortunate to have amazing arts organizations in our area, organizations that are supported by Arts Wave. So thanks for what you do. I think we're all looking forward to getting back to seeing a live performance of the Cincinnati Children's Theater. Maybe you're looking forward to getting back up the hill here and checking out the Cincinnati Art Museum. Whatever the case may be, looking forward to seeing you out at a venue sometime soon. Until then, you can catch me maybe out for a run somewhere in the city. there are just so many steps. Okay, I'm going to let you go now. I'm losing my breath.
Bob Wood. And now one of my closest friends in the entire city. He's one of the first people I met in Cincinnati, Evan Millward from WCPO Channel 9. Now, Evan has been, a resident of OTR for years and years and years. He's actually lived in a bunch of places. So if there is anyone who knows running in OTR, it is Evan Millward, and not just because of Bachfest, to which he runs every single year, and or any of the Hudipole runs, because he finds that beer at the end. But he absolutely is so privy to knowing the OTR running scene. So let's take a look at what he has for us.
Hey everyone, Evan Millward here in Washington Park in front of Music Hall. It's so iconic and it's so cool. I wanted to be an architect before I wanted to be in news, and so I just am obsessed with this building. And it's been such a cool part of my career at WCPO 9 too, being able to be the first to let you in and show you all the renovations and to follow that progress through. Plus, I've been a Pop subscriber for years, so this means a whole lot to me in my life here in Cincinnati. I can't wait to get back inside and see shows. I know they've had some small audiences in, but I work weekends, so I've enjoyed the live streams, I'll tell you that, so I can watch from my desk. I can't wait to be back. We're so close. We're so close. In the meantime, I like just running around the outside of this as I run through Over the Rhine and downtown and sort of our whole arts corridor here in Over the Rhine. So it's so cool that Arts Wave has now put one of these running courses for me and you together that gets you through Over the Rhine and running by some of our arts organizations. I really love it, which actually reminds me that I should probably get back to my run, but sometimes I'll take any excuse I can get not to. Thanks for having me be a part of this. I can't wait to see you out on a trail or downtown or at a 5K. I can't wait for that. We'll crack a beer at the end, because it wouldn't be a Cincinnati 5K without a free beer at the end. And I can't wait to see you inside Music Hall too.
They've been all over the place in the city, but there's one person who probably beats them before I go to the queen of running in our city, I do want to just give another reminder that if you wanted to ask any questions or anything, you can also drop the questions in the chat. So we'll be answering them at the end of this. And so if you have any, questions, concerns, comments, let us know. We will answer as many as we can. And I also wanted to mention another quick note here, just kind of going off of what Kathy was stating earlier about Tri-State Running Company kind of coming in and being able to do this initiative with us. So they are going to be, giving gift certificates for as much money as you raise. So basically, if you raise about $500 on one of those Facebook fundraising things, it's super easy to set up. I'm sure you've been either donating to one in the past or you've been hosting a fundraising thing on Facebook. You just find the ArtsWave organization. And if you raise $500, you literally get a $25 gift certificate to Tri-State Running Company. If you donate $1,000, you get a $50 gift certificate. So really, really great. So big thank you to Tri-State Running Company and Cameron Simino for doing that. Now, the show. We are going to say hello to Iris Simpson Bush. She is the president and CEO of the Flying Pig Marathon, the Queen Bee, just all of these, the beer running series, FCC3. She is known as the Queen of Running in Cincinnati. She has led the organization for more than 20 years. And I should also mention, I am a very loyal runner for the Flying Fur Marathon, or not marathon. It's not a marathon. It's literally 2 miles. But the Flying Fur you do with your dog, to which mine is sleeping right here. And so Dakota and I do it every single year with tutus, and it adds to the amount of fun and excitement that's built around the marathon. And it just makes the entire weekend filled with fun, running, wellness, and I just love it. So without further ado, let's turn it over to Iris Simpson Bush. Iris?
Hello, Megan. I miss you. It's so good to see your smiling face.
I know. It's been, because I think we last saw each other about 6 months ago when we were chicken dancing together.
Yes, that's true. That's right.
That we were. Socially distant, of course.
Our best fun chicken dancing.
You bet. And so we obviously know that the Flying Pig this year, it's different. It's changes, but I think the biggest thing that a lot of people are thankful for is that it's happening. It is such a motivator for our city, such a positive, reinforcement of the good that we do here in Cincinnati, and just a great representation of who we are. And so it is now in the fall. Hello, Dakota. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about any updates you have on it and the new dates because of the pandemic?
Yeah. Well, of course, we had to move to the second half of the year. It's going to be a very, very jam-packed fall in Cincinnati, but that's a wonderful thing. I think we're all ready for it. We will be moving our events, the full lineup of Flying Pig events, to October 29th through 31st. We'll kick off on Friday night with the 50 West Mile, and then on Saturday, the lineup. I will see you and Dakota at the Flying Pig, I'm sure. Looking forward to it. So we'll have our Saturday events, and then on Sunday, we will have the full, the half, and the relay. But we're also going to be hosting the Queen Bee half and the 4 miler that weekend. So we have created all of these fun challenges that people can do. The Skyline 3-way, 4-way, and this year we added a 5-way. There are people who want to do all 5 ways. We have the Snout and Stinger Challenge. If you do one of the Queen Bee events and a Flying Pig event, you get this huge, impressive Snout and Stinger medals. So we really are trying to, and I started to use the word, I'm going to use the word cram. We're cramming it all into that weekend because it's all worth doing and worth celebrating. So, again, we're still working through approvals and protocols with the health department, and whatever is relevant and necessary at that time, you can believe we'll be employing all of those safety and security measures. But we're just so excited to be back. Um, our staff, I get to work with a wonderful group of people, and they are so incredibly eager. That's the gratifying part of what we do. For an entire year, we work on thousands and thousands of details, but to see all of you, to see the people who come out for whatever distance they choose, they've set a goal, they've trained for it, and just the joy and enthusiasm that you get to be a part of it's amazing. It's what makes our jobs so worthwhile.
Absolutely. And so, we did just get a sneak preview of some of those courses, right?
Yeah.
So talk about the courses. Do you have a favorite Artful running route, and which one's your favorite?
Well, and I am biased, familiar with all of them. Okay, favorite, they all have something cool to offer.
Let me guess, Northern Kentucky?
Well, I do love it, but
you do. Okay.
But if I were going to, if you want an honest answer, I'd say the OTR. Now, part of the OTR, I love, the music hall. We start and finish at Washington Park. There's just so much to see. And in the spirit of total transparency, it's only like a 75-foot elevation. It's very, very flat. So actually take the time to look around, take in the beautiful architecture, the murals, all that it has to offer. Now, I can find something really fun to say, truthfully, to say about all 4 of the courses. Eden Park, it's a tough one. The elevation there, I think, from start to for Eden Park, we would start at the Overlook, and that panoramic view is spectacular. But the elevation is over 300 feet, so that's still a little bit
of earn the view.
Absolutely, and Megan, I might add, locals, our own hometown people, as well as visitors from out of town. They say that view, the reward they get, that's the big climb. I mean, some people call that, Jackie refers to it as you start up the hill, amen corner, because you're praying. But once you get up there, we have entertainment there. Music is such a big part of our event. We've had as many as 160 different entertainment venues on our courses. We do use the term entertainment a little loosely. Sometimes it's a 3-piece garage band, but people come out en masse to support the runners, to offer the music. We all know how inspirational that can be and motivational. So anyway, I would say Eden Park is spectacular. And for those who are really ready to take on a challenge, want to build their endurance, all of those things, the Eden Park course can do that for you. I kind of like the OTR where I am in my running career. It's kind of fun right now.
Yes. And now, is that the course that you would select if you were a first-time runner, beginner, OTR?
I would. I really think so. Again, it's fairly flat. Downtown offers a flat course as well. There's very, very little elevation there. But I think the things to see, the activity around you, that can be very helpful when you're just starting out. By the time well-conditioned athletes, we're going to hear from Lon later. I'm sure Lon gets in his zone and is really focused on his times, probably beating his own prior times, doing his personal best. That's what athletes who are all about the competition, that's what they do. But for the vast majority of us, experience it. Hear the sounds, see the sights, smell the smells, and make it an enjoyable and I don't know, I feel enlightening experience when you're out there. And again, I've run for many, many years, and now I'm at the point where a little bit more of a leisurely pace and taking in what's going on around me adds to the enjoyment.
I totally understand that. I totally agree. It's funny because I used to live up by Eden Park. When I would go out for runs there, I'd be like, okay, 3 deep breaths. And now I'm in the East End. It's all flat. So I fully understand and also recognize the fact that, it's easier to get out the next day when it hasn't, totally overwhelmed you that first day. So, I fully agree with that. So speaking of those first time runners, I mean, are there any tips that you can give? Any training tips about how to get out there for the first time?
Well, Megan, not to sound trite in any way, but you just have to take those first steps. And remember, if you're running a marathon, those first 2 or 3 miles are an extremely important part of the race you're going to do. So let's not just say just a 5K. I mean, for many people who are just beginning, making the decision to do it, I highly recommend a running buddy. A buddy wouldn't be bad either. Buddy.
That sounds fun.
And the training groups that are available, if you want to do it on your own, certainly that's possible. But I think another person helps to keep you accountable, helps to make the experience that much better. There are online, the Jeff Galloway program is very effective. I've run with the Galloway group here in town. It's a great way to get in shape, build the distance, do things that with those first few steps, you never think you're going to get to 3 miles, then maybe a 10K, the half, so on. But in any case, I would say a running buddy or a running group. There's some great training groups around town. Well, we talked about Tri-State Running Company, what they're doing for participants and viewers tonight. So you'll find that kind of give back and ways to motivate people to achieve their goals from most all of the training groups in town. So get somebody to go with you, make it a fun experience.
And so for the lawns out there, the experienced runners, what course would you suggest? And you want to get that good workout in? I'm assuming Eden Park would be up there. What about Northern Kentucky and downtown?
Sure, absolutely. And by the way, the flat is very important as well. I don't particularly like a flat course over long distance. In my running years, we have a lot of rolling hills. Once you get through Eden Park on the Flying Pig course, it's really pretty rolling. So when people come to town, they tell us they heard how hilly we were, they trained hard on hills, and oftentimes they do their own personal best here because they heard how challenging it was going to be, and they surprised themselves with what they're capable of doing. So I would say regarding our artsy courses, Eden Park is truly the most challenging. I would certainly say the hills, and doing hill work is always extremely important when you're trying to build your endurance. I remember I've run with all the training groups in town at one time or another. And I remember years ago, Bob Bronkers used to make us run up a hill with potato chips in our hand. The reason for the potato chip in your hand was to make sure you're not gripping, because, as you're really trying to pull up all of your strength and obviously use your arm motion to get up those hills, he always wanted to remind us, that's energy you don't want to expend in your hands. You want to kind of keep it flowing through your entire body. So little quirky things like that. I still find myself remembering, don't grip my wrist, make sure that I'm trying to funnel all the energy throughout my body. And obviously those little tips, different things appeal to different people. But I would say for the endurance runners, again, hill work is extremely important. You won't have any trouble finding that around Cincinnati. And certainly the Eden Park course gives you that.
Absolutely. And just a reminder here that you can keep asking questions. I mean, we have so many incredible panelists we're going to be introducing you to. You could drop those in the chat, the Q&A, and we'll be sure to answer them at the end. Okay, so Iris, I would say the hardest part, as you mentioned about running, right? It's like getting those first few steps out there. But the best part, I mean, maybe for some people, it's like going up the hill. Listen, I'm sure everyone has their own thing. For me, it's like the moments after the run where you're like, wow, I'm so happy I did that, especially when you didn't want to get out there that day. You didn't think you had the energy. You didn't think you could do it. And then you finally are able to just pull it off. And so getting that energy up throughout the day, throughout the run, I mean, this is where the arts come in, because I have my little headphones here. I go out and I'm jamming, right? You know what I mean? And I was tired at the beginning of the day. And so there's a way to incorporate that in your run so that you can have a more effective run. And you guys have actually created this Cincinnati music list. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, for the music list that you're going to have available for this training for the 5K, it's a lot of Cincinnati music, Cincinnati artists. At our events at the Flying Pig, I think I kind of mentioned before, we have a lot of local people who we orchestrate a lot of the entertainment on the course. Absolutely, we do. But there is so much spontaneity. People who just come out, they want to share their talent. They want to use whatever they have to offer to help motivate the runners. So I would say, that symbiotic relationship that we keep talking about between arts and running, both create a euphoric feel. Megan, I don't think you're alone in that feeling after you've accomplished the goal. It doesn't matter if it's a 1 mile run. Maybe at the beginning you just thought, I don't want to do this today, but get going. During the pandemic, we've always known that running is therapeutic, absolutely, as are the arts. I mean, there is just something that speaks to your soul, your inner psyche with both endeavors. So I would say that, when you finish and accomplish that goal, there is not only euphoric feeling there, it's therapeutic as well. And I started to say, I think so many people have told us during the pandemic that that's what helped to get them through. And we've seen an increase. They say that we're going to see a real boost to the number of people who are now running because they got out there and maybe they started walking and found themselves occasionally breaking into a light run. And before you knew it, they were beginning to do run walks or walk runs. I will tell you, the only caution is it can be habitual. It can be habit forming. Running is one of those things. I have encountered so many people through the years, and I've been doing this for a long, long time, who say, I never thought I would run. I cannot believe what it gives me. The amount of effort that I put in is minimal compared to the rewards that I get. Even on our own staff, we have a very young staff, very energetic staff, but to a person, when they're hired, they don't have to be a runner to work for us. But now I can tell you that everyone on our staff is an avid runner, and they've all said the same thing. Watching others cross the finish line, you see tears. You don't know if they're tears of pain or tears of joy, but people are so happy when they cross that finish line. It's been infectious, and now all of our staff, they're all avid runners. They sign up for marathons across the country. Some of them stick with the shorter distances, but again, a 5K is a pretty impressive accomplishment. If you do it, you're in a very small percentage of the total population who can go out and run 3 miles. So think about it. Look at these courses that were designed to, make you feel, have fun, make you feel a part of something that's a little bit bigger and more than yourself. I think that's really beneficial.
I couldn't agree more. And just on a personal note, like literally a month ago, so I had stopped running in like the January, February time. It was cold. I didn't really want to do it. So I was like starting to get sad to a point where I was like, okay, I'm going to call my doctor, see what's up, went in. And I was fully expecting to get some type of like, okay, medication, whatever. And my doctor just looked at me and she's like, start running again. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, that's it. And I love this doctor. And she was like, that's it. How am I feeling now? I am amazing. You know what I mean? And it's just because it is 10% of just that feeling a little happier, feeling a little bit more like you're doing something. And it contributes so much to your mental well-being. All right.
Megan, I would only add to the happiness a little bit of a sense of control. And I think during the pandemic and all that's going on in our world these days, feeling that a little bit of control is within your grasp, I think that's important and therapeutic for people as well.
Perfectly put. I couldn't agree more. We are now, Iris and I, going to introduce another person. So we are going to meet Lon Bussell. He's the associate principal oboist for the Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra. And then, of course, as I'm talking to Lon, I know we've been mentioning this, just drop those questions in the chat that you'd like him to answer, Iris to answer, any of our panelists coming up. they'll all be available to answer these questions at the end. And so let's learn a little bit more about Lon. So he is an avid runner. He actually placed 16th in the Flying Pig one year. And so Lon, we're going to get you on here. How are you?
Good. How are you doing? It's great to be
here. Yes, we're so happy to have you because I think your insight into this specific topic is perfect. And when we talked earlier in the week, I think people will benefit from what you're saying. So first, let's start with that accomplishment. How did you place that high in this huge race, and how did it feel?
Well, at that time, the pace that I was running is what I was used to running for a marathon, which was maybe in the 6:20s per mile, 6:20 to 6:30 range. And the Flying Pig even then, and that was the year 2000, so that was the second Flying Pig. It wasn't as big as it is now, but it was a big race. And I had no idea how many people were in front of me when I crossed the finish line. So it was a surprise to me. I was just like blown away that I was in the top 20. I mean, I usually do pretty well, but not quite that well. So I was really ecstatic.
And so this was 2000. So
2000.
That would mean Iris would have also been involved in the pig. Do you remember that race, Iris?
Megan, yes, I do. I had the honor in those years I was on the board. I actually served on the Flying Pig board from its inception in 1997 until 2002 when I switched to the stand side. So at 2000, Lon, every year it was my honor and privilege to get to stand at that finish line. In the early years when I was a board member, I actually worked at WCPO and we had a relay team.
Wow.
So every board member through the years, we have a job to do race weekend. So my job was to be at the finish line. So I'm sure that I could have congratulated you. I'm sure I could have seen you. I honestly say I remember, not so much. My years have run together and a lot of people have crossed that finish line.
Oh yeah.
Can I tell you something? This wasn't very auspicious, but 2 years ago, Jackie Rowe will remember this. At the finish line, a guy comes across, people are looking, I don't recognize everybody. You look a little different when you're running anyway. But this man, we kind of make eye contact, this young guy. He's coming toward me, He grabs me up, he spins me around. I don't usually get that. Sat me down. I did it. And then he looked in my eyes and he said, "You don't know me, do you?" And I said, "I'm so sorry, I don't." And he said, "I was your Uber driver."
That's
So back then, if he was an Uber driver. Anyway, so Lon, I do remember a few, but 2000, nope, I don't remember exactly getting to greet you, but I did have the honor of standing there as you crossed.
Well, it was 21 years ago. I barely remember it myself.
And so actually, Lon, why don't you just tell us a little bit about your journey? I mean, what inspired you to pick up the pace and start training? Tell us that story.
So yeah, when I first met my wife, I was running and I was 21 years old, but I wasn't ever racing. We lived in Los Angeles. I'd just go out for jogs on the beach. And she says, "Well, why don't you race?" I said, "Well, I think it'll ruin it for me." So I didn't. And we moved to Cincinnati in 1983. And I still went out and jogged, went around Lunken, tried to get used to the different climate in Ohio. And finally, a couple of people in the orchestra, in the CSO, who are marathon runners, encouraged me to train for one. And I did. And actually, I ran my first marathon in 91. And it turned out to be my fastest marathon in my life. I haven't been able to beat my first time. So that inspired me to keep on training and run 5Ks. So the first Flying Pig Marathon was in 1999. So between 91 and 99, I was doing races, seemed like almost every weekend, 5Ks, 10Ks, 15Ks. There's the Hart Mini Marathon on Columbia Parkway. There's the brewery run. There's a new one, but there was an old one that started and finished at the corner of Central Parkway and Liberty Street, sponsored by Hudipole Brewery, run by all the different breweries in town. out of town races. I started doing marathons. I did marathons in Chicago and Minnesota, half marathons in Dayton, et cetera. So I was just thrilled when Cincinnati decided to hold one in May of 1999. And as a matter of fact, this friend of mine, a training partner, told me about it the week before the race. And I signed up for the pig, the very first pig, just 4 or 5 days before the race. So, you know, I just kept going, and it went well. Of course, there are injuries. Some injuries occurred, but I really appreciate the way you're encouraging people to be physically fit and to take that first step. And I echo that sentiment. I really think it's great when people just get out the door and enjoy this beautiful city at any pace.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Does that answer your question?
I knew that. Yes, it does. And so, you know, before we go to our next panelist, just talk a little bit about your connection with the arts and running, and where you feel there's an intersection there.
Okay, well, you know, honestly, it's two of the things that I really love to do. I mean, maybe the third one is scuba diving, but we don't need to talk about that. But although I would. But it's two things that I've done pretty much my whole life. And when you say intersect, you know, I do them on the same day. And I think especially it helps my oboe playing, my musicianship, to be physically fit and to be physically active. It clears my mind, it burns calories, and it keeps me in the zone. It keeps me in kind of a zen, relaxed zone. You know, what we do on stage at Music Hall is intense. It's very inspiring, but it takes a lot of concentration. There's a lot of pressure. And so the running aspect of it, the exercise in general, helps me feel quite relaxed and able to concentrate on my music. So I think that's
Absolutely.
The way it helps me.
You know, I think this is kind of the perfect place where we could bring in our next panelist. Danielle Cozart Steele is the artistic director of the Young Professionals Choral Collective and a professional soprano soloist who has sung with operas and orchestras all across the country. Once again, if you have any questions for Danielle, feel free to drop them in the chat. Let's get her up here. And so, Danielle, tell us a little bit about how you got into running and your history with the sport.
So when I was in high school, I did no sportsing of any kind. I was all involved in the arts, right? It was singing, piano playing, acting, all of that. And I went to college at Butler University to be a music major. And halfway through college, I had a cancer scare. And so I took stock of my life very quickly and knew that physical fitness and diet were going to be a huge part of my physical health and mental wellness. And so I started very clumsily, like any 19-year-old who has never sports balled in her life, like running on a treadmill, and just punching buttons and hoping that I wasn't going to injure myself. And I wasn't, terribly successful in my endeavors, right? I explored a lot of things. I used all of the weight machines probably incorrectly. Like watching me work out is like watching a baby horse try to stand up for the first time. But, and this is where the arts and music intersect. I went to Cincinnati Conservatory for grad school for my master's degree. And the phrase, "it's not over till the fat lady sings," is not the phrase anymore. The phrase is now, "it's not over till the fit lady sings." And so my opera colleagues were like bodybuilders and marathon runners and they were aerialists and they did yoga, and I came from a very small town where like the arts and sports shall never meet. And suddenly here I am with all of these amazing world-class musicians who are also, after rehearsal, going and swimming a mile in the pool. And that wasn't just the singers, that's also like the pianists, you know. And what they would say, one of my favorite pianists at CCM is Ken Griffiths, and he teaches collaborative piano and art song repertoire. And Ken says that it's a way for his mind to get quiet after a day of nitpicking diction and artistic, you know, choices and style in French art song. And I respect him to death. And so my colleagues started to take me to the gym and teach me how to use the machines. And that began what now is, you know, a multi-year journey in physical fitness. And at this point, I run and I bike and I do yoga and I ride horses and I just, and I swim. So it's an everyday part of my life and it benefits me in so many ways.
And can you kind of go into just like, you know, when you are out there on stage, you're doing a solo, you're singing. I mean, how does it come in handy in those moments?
So I'll give you a couple of examples. So the first one that really drove it home to me that I needed to be physically fit to do my craft, I was cast in an opera at CCM. I was 22. It was called The Voyage of Edgar Allan Poe. It was this very avant-garde opera, and we had a giant sailboat on stage. And Edgar Allan Poe I was Virginia Poe, he had to kill me by burying me in his manuscripts, and I was hanging upside down over the books and papers as he piled them on top of me, singing my death aria. And I had to hit a high C, and my stage director was like, yeah, you're gonna be upside down when you're doing that? and I knew right then, I was like, I have never trained in the studio by hanging upside down. This is new. And so, you know, from that, I sang with Des Moines Metro Opera a few years later. And the sheer amount of movement on stage, even if you're just a chorus member, you often are responsible for all of the background action, for making up the tapestry of what's going on artistically. And so you're running down 2 flights of stairs to the tiny little green room, and you're changing costumes, and you're running back up the other side of the stage, and maybe then you're doing an entrance on the balcony, and you're singing like some super high notes for 8 measures, and then you run back down for your next entrance. So you have to have a physical endurance so that when you do open your mouth, you sound like a glorious angel goddess and not like someone who just ran up 3 flights of stairs.
Absolutely. And actually, both you, Danielle, as well as Lon, were just mentioned in the ArtsWave story in the Business Courier. And you both talk about this runner's high. We've heard it before. And, you know, both of your experiences as performers has been what's called flow, right? You kind of get into this groove, you're exerting creative energy. Can you talk a little bit about how those are similar or different? Danielle, you want to go first?
Sure. So for anyone who doesn't know, flow is when you are so in the moment that you are not even cognizant of your actions. You aren't able to plan ahead. You're not able to reflect on what's happening. You are like as one with the universe as you can possibly be. And as an artist, that is supremely satisfying because you feel like your soul is, for me, pouring out of my mouth. You feel like you're in perfect sync with all of the other musicians. And also when you are running, there is a point where your body almost seems to magically propel itself, and you reach this beautiful combination of effort and reward, and you're just kind of sailing. And that's so similar to what it feels like to be in flow as an artist.
I love that. Lon, what about you?
Yeah, I think it's very similar for me. For me, running is generally a solo activity. Okay, so I do run with friends, I run with groups, and I run in races. But what you call a runner's high is the kind of an inner sense of satisfaction that I receive on my own as I'm running or at the end of a run. When I do my job in the symphony, I do play a lot of solos as an oboe player, but it's a collaborative event. So it's kind of a group feeling, a group aura, a group flow. And, you know, you're playing these amazing masterpieces by, say, Mozart and Beethoven and Brahms. And so you just feel yourself immersed and in the flow of the music. So there's definitely a similarity between the two.
Absolutely. And Iris, let's bring you back in here. What are your thoughts on the two over the years that you've worked with runners, and your thoughts on what the arts really provide?
Well, it would be difficult to express it as well as Lon and Danielle have right now, because they've firsthand experienced both sides. But again, I just know, and this would be a personal observation, but you know, to witness what they're able to do as artists just brings out an emotion in me that that I don't get other times. It's great listening to music listening to music, but to see a performance, to see the person, the human being who's creating that evokes so much emotion. And the same can be true of running, probably of accomplishing any physical or athletic goal. But, you know, again, our sport is running, and we do get the opportunity to see thousands and thousands of people become euphoric because of what they're able to do. I might also add, you know, there are thousands of spectators out there on the course on any given Flying Pig weekend, hundreds of thousands, they tell us. They're not all related to somebody. They don't all know who's running, but there is something about seeing others accomplish goals, you know, put whether it's their physical or their artistic prowess in front of us. And I'm learning tonight how much more physical the music that you guys deliver to us. That's just been kind of a new observation for me, and I'll probably have a new and even better appreciation when I can come back to watching the in-person performances. But I thought when I heard about this project, what a great association. This is something that should have happened a long time ago. After being a part of it, hearing Kathy, hearing the artists, the musicians who are with us tonight, I'm even more convinced. For all of us, whatever our talents, whatever our abilities will be, if we can tap into them and bring them up, the reward is kind of hard to describe. You have to experience yourself. So those of you who haven't done a 5K, take it on. It's going to be worth it.
That it is. And we kind of talked about the fact that running can help you in your art. But I want to go to Danielle with this one to talk a little bit about the ways in which her art actually helps her running.
I think that the way that you need to approach art and physical fitness, they are long-term endeavors. You do not receive the reward upon the first practice session, and you don't receive the reward upon the first run. And in fact, the first run through of a piece of music may be fairly clunky, right? And the first run, if you've never run before, maybe more of a walk or a meander with some, you know, like well-intentioned jogging. And I know that during the pandemic, right? During the pandemic, I was outside every day, almost immediately once we were on lockdown. But because we didn't have childcare, I have a 2-year-old son. I wasn't able to do some of the like really intense workouts I'm used to. And so even if you are a very experienced person with physical fitness, there are times when you simply have to come back to it. And so because I know about starting from scratch with each new piece you learn, and when you're scaffolding a project, it helps me kind of have that beginner mindset, right? To know that I can approach Like if I don't run for 3 months, that's okay, because I know I can start again, and I can do that kind of herky jerky walk, jog, walk, jog, walk, jog. And 3 or 4 runs later, I'm going to be feeling really, really good, and I'm going to be okay. And just for anyone who's out there who's thinking, I'll never do a 5K, I have like a 12.5-minute mile. I'm like a plow horse pulling a wagon, right? Like you don't have to be fast. You don't have to be sinewy, and you don't have to be experienced, right? Get a good pair of shoes and a buddy. And it's something that's so fabulous and life-giving. And it's about the process, right? It's not about the race that you win, although Lon, I'm super jealous. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Nothing to be jealous of.
Right. It's about the process. It's the same reason that when we make art together, we keep going to choir rehearsal, because we love the community and we love singing that crunchy 7th chord. It's not about the performance.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's about the journey for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And, one of the other things that I just, was brought up when you were talking, Danielle, is just the fact that running itself is so accessible. It's the most accessible sport. All you really need is yourself and a pair of shoes. And, it also brings me back to kind of Arts Wave, which is always looking to make the arts more accessible. The amount of initiatives that they've done in different communities all around the city and all around the area is phenomenal, right? They're trying to get art into the hands of people who don't always get the opportunity to pick up a paintbrush and a canvas and do their thing. And so why don't we bring Kathy back in, because I know Kathy has been kind of monitoring some of the questions that we've been getting. And so Kathy, tell us a little bit about what you've been seeing and some of the questions.
Sure. Thanks, Megan. So shout out to Lori Burkhardt, who's on our session. She mentioned she lives by a Fleet Feet. And so local running stores are really a great source for figuring out, how to get a group of people together. So I'd like to kind of riff on that. This could be Lon or this could be Danielle. Tell us, how have you done that? Like gotten a group of people together? Like you're starting to get into this. How does this work? I don't know who wants to take that one. All right, go ahead.
Okay. Well, for me, I've been training with the same group of runners since the early 2000s. We actually have a team. Well, we kind of had a team. It still exists, called the Earth Drummers. We would be coached by Randy Cox, who actually works at Tri-State Running Company now. He used to work at Bob Ronker's Running Spot. So we actually do meet sometimes at Tri-State Running Company. And I know that you mentioned that store before. On weekend mornings, there are enormous groups of various paces that go out for training runs at different distances depending on what their goals are. So what I would recommend is to go to a running store and ask them if they can put you into a group appropriate for your goals. And they're always, you never have to, there's no pressure. You don't have to go faster than you want. But it's amazing what the camaraderie does. It just makes the time go by quickly, and it makes it much more enjoyable and a social experience.
Great. So another question, specifically for Danielle. You wear many hats. So you're new to the area and trying to get acclimated, or new back to the area. You're not even officially kind of moved yet.
Mm-mm.
And you're running YPCC, you are still soloing. So, a lot of us trying to get into running have some obstacles. How do you figure out how to work this in your life?
Well, so I'm going to just admit that I'm privileged in this regard. I was able to purchase a treadmill during the pandemic because, all of our apps and social media listen to us. And I mentioned to a friend, I was like, I'd love to have a home gym and a treadmill. And then what pops up in my Facebook ads. And so I actually bit the bullet, ordered the treadmill, and I have set it up and I use it, oh gosh, probably every other day. And that really helps when you have a toddler at home, because if you're a B+ parent like myself, Thomas the Train can co-parent, or Daniel Tiger is an excellent co-parent, and I can go do 30 or 45 minutes on the treadmill. And that's, I think running outside is better because you are more under your own steam, right? You can't, like the treadmill, you can cheat a little. You can be like, I'm going to go faster, and you just push a button. Outside trail running, that's one of my favorite things to do, but that's harder with a 2-year-old. So that's how I'm overcoming that obstacle right this second. And all my outdoor trail stuff is me with a baby on my back hiking in the woods.
Great, great. And a question for Iris. Talk with us a little bit about stretching and its role in running, whether you're just starting to get in it or you've been running for a while. Give us a couple pointers on that.
Well, there are those who will say that stretching is the key to non-injury. And it's absolutely true. In fact, so many runners have now taken up other cross-training sports like yoga, but the stretching is incredibly important. There was a train of thought for a while that you should do a light jog for a while, kind of warm up those muscles. Don't just, go out on a cold morning and immediately start, stretching the legs and trying to get everything loose. Do a light jog, a run, get things moving, kind of warm the muscles, and then a stretching regime can be the absolute difference between injury and not. So a huge proponent of stretching. I know I should do more of it myself. It's one of those things you'll take off and you think, I'm going to warm up a little before I stretch. And before you know it, you may have forgotten to stretch. Never a good idea. Stretching post-race is also extremely important. I don't do ice baths. There are those who do recommend a post-race ice bath. I've never gone there.
All right. Well, one last question, and it's totally a personal one. This is my running buddy here. She's 8 pounds, Isabella. So is that a bad thing that you run with a really small dog? I mean, she's got a lot of energy, but is that really like a healthy thing for people to do?
Kathy, I can't place myself as an expert, but when we started doing the flying fur, we of course have a veterinarian, a couple of vets actually there. And I am told that your dog, your companion, will let you know how far and how fast they can go if you're sensitive and listen to them. I will, not that your little guy, he is adorable.
Is she?
A she. Very, very cute. I couldn't tell by the face, but we are told that the pug-nosed dogs, the dogs that have been bred to have the pug nose, you have to be especially sensitive to them because, they want to run with you. They want to do what you're doing. And sometimes they can't breathe as unobstructed or as well as they need to. So the vet did suggest to me that we not allow the pug-nosed dogs. And I said, that would be discriminatory. No, we can't do that, but we will try to get out the information and make sure that owners know to be very sensitive. But if you listen to your pet, they can usually tell you what's good or not so good for them.
I want to respond to Iris for just a moment with a story. So I have a dog that's half pug and half Maltese. So she's not as smushy faced as she could be. And she's, like all pugs, very energetic. And so when I trail run, I did some obedience training with her and I'm able to safely let her off the leash. And so she can keep her own pace when I run. Now, remember, again, I'm a 12.5-minute miler. So she's going to be faster anyway. But she and another little dog that I had several years ago would run with me every morning. And one day he lost track of me in the woods and he ran all the way back to the car and just sat and waited. So,
Aren't they amazing?
and I ran 5 miles trying to find my dog, who had gone right back to the
Funny story about the flying fur. And Megan, you probably know the Weimaraners seem to win every year. And somebody said, "Oh, they're the fastest breed," and I said, "No, I think their owners are the fastest." Because
Yeah.
if they can run free, some of those little guys can be really, really fast. But the owner,
yeah.
flying fur, the owner has to be able to keep up, right, Megan?
Oh, it's true. It's so true. I know by the end of it, I'm like, am I okay? I know the dog's fine. Am I okay? Oh,
What a
man.
great companion, and anytime you can walk around. That's why we started the flying fur. We got so many requests. It was actually one of the events that was by popular demand. People love walking and running with their furry companions.
All right, so maybe that's where you'll see me. Well, I know that we've had folks on Zoom for a while, so I just want to kind of wrap up. I want to thank our panelists. They have been tremendous. Megan, thank you for always being the arts lover that you are, and Lon and Danielle, just really neat to get some artist perspective. Iris, thank you so much. Bob and Evan, we thank you for showcasing our courses. Be sure to check them out, everyone, if you've not done those. I love how quickly you can go up the art climb in them. So anyway, be sure to do that. Jackie and her team, thank you very much. Also too, in terms of our next Arts for Wellness, we are happy to tell you all that that is happening Thursday, April 29th. It's about managing stress, but we're going to look at it in a really different way. We're going to look behind the scenes in Cincinnati's film industry. And so in that, we're going to be seeing Christian Schlotman, Executive Director of Film Cincinnati, D. Lynn Myers, who does so much casting around. We all know her also as producing artistic director of Ensemble Theater. So she will be involved in that. We have Brian Bentley. I don't know if you remember The Public. I love that film. So Brian was in that, and Killing a Sacred Deer as well. And so he's going to join us. But some of the topics when we talk about stress that you might not be thinking about, they have real relationships, I think, to all of us. Things like, how are you on your game when you're on the set? What happens when you have a really emotional scene? And how do you keep it together? Interpersonal conflicts. We can all use that. So we're going to learn more about that in the April 29th session. And if you like this session and you want to share it with friends, whether they run or not, it's going to be available for the next month to all ArtsWave Pass members. So just be sure to check on that. We'll have it available tomorrow. We'll load it up to our website. And with that, I just want to thank everyone and wish you all a great evening.